Did you know that your irritable bowel syndrome could be misdiagnosed? Did you know that your IBS could be misdiagnosed because you have endometriosis? Well, today I want to talk about the shitty truth about your endometriosis and IBS and some symptoms to look out for that I didn't know were actually symptoms and help me, and hopefully they can help you. So all week long we've been talking about shame and how it affects our healing process. And I know it definitely did for me. With being diagnosed endometriosis and IBS positive at a young age, I never wanted to talk about it. First and foremost, I didn't really know what endometriosis was, admittedly. And from a young age, I knew I had it. And about my early 20s, I was diagnosed with having irritable bowel syndrome. And from that, I just knew that that was really unglamorous. And I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want to seem like I was a complainer. And keeping it close to my chest and keeping it to myself was something I did out of shame. I mean, it's really not that glamorous to be like, hey, do you want to go on a date? And then afterwards, we're probably going to need to stop at the BP because I'm going to need to go to the bathroom. Number two. It's going to be number two. That's not really all that glamorous. So today I want to talk about some of the things that maybe you did or didn't know. First, did you know that 1 in 6 people in the US are diagnosed with IBS? Did you? I didn't. Did you know that 10% of all women have endometriosis? I do. Hi, it's me. Nice to meet you. I'm one of them. So for those who don't know me, my name is Shannon Wooten. I am a lifestyle and fertility coach. I help women struggling with symptoms related to infertility and feel like aliens in their bodies looking for a way to solve the what now question. So as I said, today we're going to talk about the shitty truth about your endometriosis and IBS and some symptoms that I think were really helpful for me figuring out on the back end, and hopefully, no pun intended, back end, hopefully will be helpful for you to figure out on the front end. I mean, there's lots of puns here, front, back, just saying. So first is endometriosis. It often results in a misdiagnosis of IBS. And the reason for that is the type of endometriosis. Some of the symptoms, yes, poop. Some of the symptoms to look for in your misdiagnosis of IBS, if you have in fact been diagnosed with it, is number 1, do you have frequent urination? This is going to be like an anatomy class, guys. I'm going to say things like poop and pee. So do you have frequent urination? I know I did. When I went to Disney World with my family and there was like an hour line, I was like good for at least 2 bathroom trips in that line. Number 2 is, do you experience symptoms of human recycling bin, which is you eat and it comes immediately back out. That's what I call it. Lots of poops. Or are you bound up? Do you have constipation? I had number 2, but I actually didn't have number 2. Irony there. And the third is bloating. Do you feel like you are constantly retaining water, or do you feel like me, where for years I had to use a safety pin to close my jeans, but I just never told anybody? The fourth thing is acid reflux. A lot of times with a misdiagnosed IBS, from symptoms of endometriosis, you're going to establish symptoms of acid reflux. And the reason for that is if you are dealing with a particular painful type of IBS and endometriosis like I had, you're probably taking a good dosage of Tylenol or Advil. Those things sit in your stomach and they create acid, and their influx is the acid reflux. And number 5 is painful periods. So when you have a misdiagnosed IBS, a lot of times we feel really constipated and we think, oh God, here comes my period. I'm going to be extremely constipated. And if you are not a person that is extremely constipated all the time anyways, maybe you have more frequent bowel movements. The other side is because endometriosis is a form of inflammation in the body, you feel more pain than usual. So the uterus in and of itself is trying to shed the lining, but it's becoming inflamed in trying to do that. Why? Because endometriosis is a form of inflammation in and of itself. So the types of endometriosis, as I mentioned before, can vary. And one of the symptoms of different types of endometriosis is painful periods. In light of that, how do you go about knowing if you have endometriosis that is attributable to IBS? Okay, few things. One, you should probably go to a doctor. If you notice that you have frequent poops, or you have infrequent poops, then you should probably go to the doctor. Number one. Number two, if you have frequent pees and you don't have infrequent pees, go to the doctor. If you have extremely painful or heavy periods, go to the doctor. It never occurred to me that this was abnormal because it was my life. One of the things that I had to do to deal with my endometriosis was have surgery. And it's not glamorous, but it taught me a lot. It taught me all these things and being able to have this conversation with you, this dialogue. But one of the things it also taught me was when I had laparoscopy, I was able to identify the type of endometriosis that I have. Short version of laparoscopy is they basically take a pen size laser and they go in through maybe 3 or 4 different areas of your stomach and they go in and they laser out the endometriosis. Convenient pen placement. So for me, when they went and they took out the endometriosis, they noticed and were able to tell me where it was. And it was attached to my rectum and it was also attached to my vagina. So I said vagina. Vagina. So this actually has a name. It's called rectovaginal endometriosis. And what is one of the symptoms of rectovaginal endometriosis? Anybody have a guess? Anybody have a guess? Like, we're talking about it. You're probably thinking about it. IBS. One of the symptoms of rectovaginal endometriosis is misdiagnosed IBS. So, few things. Going back through those 5 symptoms, again, just to make sure you're aware and if you're just signing on, 5 symptoms of your endometriosis that could be misdiagnosed and you may be thinking that it's attributed to IBS is 1, frequent pees. If you're peeing all the time, every hour on the hour, even if you had nothing to drink, go see a doctor. It could be attributed to endometriosis. Constipation, can't have the poops. Or if you have frequent poops, if you're pooping all the time, it could be a symptom related to endometriosis. Bloating, extreme bloating. If you're somebody like me who had to take a safety pin and button her pants, I did it, wore lots of long shirts. Could be attributable to endometriosis. Acid reflux, if you find that you have extremely painful periods and are taking lots of Tylenol and lots of Advil, this is abnormal. This blew my mind, blew my mind. I just thought everybody had a painful period. And those bitches that didn't have painful periods, I really secretly hated you. Just being honest, I was super jealous. But a lot of the misdiagnosis from IBS is towards endometriosis, and a few symptoms, because we're talking more about misdiagnosed IBS, but a few symptoms to set you in your repertoire off about endometriosis that are not normal are extreme bloating. Extreme bloating on a period is not normal. It's not. I learned that, it blew my mind. Extremely painful periods, not normal. I learned this, it blew my mind. Heavy flow for more than 3 days, 3 to 5 days is not normal. With big clots, not normal. Never knew this. Lived my whole life with this till about 4 years ago. Found it out, blew my mind. Caveat, I am not saying that if you have endometriosis, you probably also have IBS. 1. Other caveat, I am not saying that if you have irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, that you have endometriosis. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is if all of these symptoms related with, constipation or frequent bowel symptoms, having irritants to certain foods are coupled by extremely painful periods, lots of bloating, very heavy flow, and lots of clotting, go to see your doctor. It could be a misdiagnosis. That's all I'm saying. Trying to help a sister, hook a sister. That's what I'm trying to do. So, for those of you that signed on today to hear the shitty truth about your endometriosis and IBS, the shitty truth is that you may not have IBS at all, which may be a plus. The downside is you probably still have endometriosis. Go to a doctor, get it checked out. Don't ignore your symptoms. Sticking with the thread of the theme for this week's infertility discussions, do not feel shame. As I said yesterday in yesterday's video, if you didn't see it, go to Life with Shannon and watch it. Have no shame in your game. Having shame in your game does not heal you. It gives you conflict avoidance, which basically just keeps you stowing and stewing in your own little misery, and it doesn't make you feel better. So take action on your life. Don't worry what other people think, because if they're your homies and they love you, they'll be down for you, they'll support you, they're your family, they're gonna love you. Don't worry about external elements, worry about you. Take the time you need to focus on yourself. And if any of these symptoms sounds like you, go and see a doctor. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And it could change your whole life. It could change your whole quality of life and take all the pain that you're having and minimize it. Who doesn't want that? All right, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Throw me some hearts, some love if you like this video. Go on over to Life with Shannon and see all the rest of the videos that I talk about infertility. Shoot me some feedback. Let me know what you want to hear. Let me know what you want to talk about. I want you guys to sign on and chat with me and have a dialogue. I'm doing this because infertility is important. It is nothing to be ashamed of. Endometriosis is nothing to be ashamed of. It's a fact of your life, but it is not you. It is something that is a part of you, but it does not diminish your value. You determine your value. I love you guys so much. As I say, I always love you. I already love you. My heart is already with you. Don't give up. Be easy. Have a great week and a weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.